This is D Hunter, bringing another action figure review. Today, we're going to look at the McFarlane Collector's Edition Clock King. Not only that, but this is the Platinum Chase variant, which is actually a different character named Dr. Tyme, who's a Doom Patrol villain, and I think that's a really cool way to handle the Platinum Chase of Clock King. Huge shout out to my boy Cody from Instagram for hooking me up with this. It is much appreciated. So let's take a look at the packaging. As you can see at the top, 22 moving parts, McFarlane Toys, ages 12 plus, DC Multiverse Clock King, McFarlane Platinum Edition, McFarlane Collector's Edition. Here he is in the package. We have a display stand, a collector's card, a stand for the card, and then two arms for a clock that are sort of swords or weapons for him. One side of the package, Clock King. This is the 18th figure in the Collector's Edition subline. The other side, Clock King. Even though it's actually not Clock King, but on the back, here he is posed up from the comics, but once again, this is Clock King, not Dr. Tyme. And at the bottom, there is the barcode. So with no further ado, let's open him up. And my boy Cody did get the platinum for each figure in the wave. Red Hood, Clock King, and Ragman. Red Hood and Ragman are going to go in my unopened collection, but Dr. Tyme here is going to get open. I do have another one on the way for my unopened collection, so caught up through this wave. Alright. Now that this figure out of the package, here he is with all of his accessories laid out. We have a display stand, a collector's card, display stand for the collector's card, and then two large hands of a clock, which are sort of like his swords. Before I load all that, let's talk about and check out the figure. So this is Dr. Tyme. He's typically a Doom Patrol villain. His specialty is he has a weapon, is a ray that manipulates time, allowing him to freeze objects in stasis, and he mostly uses this for petty theft and other small crimes. Despite being an inconsequential villain, he thinks of himself as Doom Patrol's arch nemesis. Personally, I'm probably going to throw him with my Batman villains as Clock King 2 or 3, or maybe Dr. Tyme, a guy that works with Clock King. A lot of possibilities. I think it's a really cool idea for a platinum figure, so let's take a look at him. So, the biggest difference is going to be his head. He has a giant clock on his head, and I thought Clock King had a giant clock on his head, but this guy has an even bigger clock on his head with mean eyes and a mouth. It's really the same head, but a much larger piece attached to the front, and I think it's just such a cool idea for a Platinum Chase variant. The outfit's a little bit different. It's the same sculpt. He's got gray belt, a little white thing going down there, which is probably a little thing for the clock to swings back and forth. This is done on the Nightfall Batman body, and I really do like that body. He's got wristwatches on both wrists, double jointed elbows, double jointed knees, cloth soft goods cape with a wire on either side, a little bit of a smudge on his shoulders, I guess from the cape. It's kind of on both sides. This has been my most wanted McFarlane figure for a couple months now. Finally happy to check him off the list and have him in hand, and he does not disappoint. And a closer look at his face and head sculpt, which I think is pretty cool. Cheesy, but cool. Now let's check out his accessories, starting off with the boring stuff. He's got this display stand. Typical McFarlane display stand we've seen countless times before. Only difference is this one has a silver DC at the bottom because it's part of the collector's edition. And then we have his collector's card. As you can see, it's an image of Clock King, which is a different character from Mr. Tyme, but he's just a variant of this guy. McFarlane Collector's Edition. On the back side, there is a description, but it's for Clock King, not for Dr. Tyme. And it doesn't do much for me, but if you want to display the collector's card next to your figure, you have a stand to do so. And then we have his swords, or sort of oversized clock hands. We have two of them. They both have little sort of point, like the hand of a clock. They're done in sort of a metallic blue paint job. It's a pretty nice color, same as the front of the clock face. Little places to grip onto them there. And then here are his clock hand swords, next to the original Clock King's version of his clock hand swords, which are a more traditional color scheme. Here's Dr. Tyme, holding those oversized clock hands. He can hold them like swords, and he can also hold them like the hands of a clock. Here it is, 12:15. Now I want to check out the differences in reuse between Dr. Tyme and Clock King. And the only real difference is going to be the sort of faceplate on them. So let's take a look. Start with their heads. As you can see, the clock is much larger on Dr. Tyme than it is on Clock King. But if you look from the side, it's really the same head, just a different sort of face on the front of the clock. Now beyond that, everything else is the same. Same belt, just painted differently. Same stomach, torso, even the same wristwatches. Hell, even the cape is the same, but everything is done in a different color. But I think it's such a cool idea for a variant. This guy is so cheesy, and so is this guy, and they're going to be great partners and teammates. Now I want to check out the differences and reuse between the Nightfall Batman and Clock King, or rather, Dr. Tyme. And Catman here uses the same body, and I'd say uses maybe more shared parts with Dr. Tyme than Batman, but pretty similar. So let's take a look. Obviously, the heads are totally different. He's got the smoothed out torso, Batman has the sculpted bat symbol there. The arms, exactly the same, until the gloves here, where Batman has the fins, he doesn't, the watch, etc. The diaper is a different piece. The legs are exactly the same. You can even see the pointed boot. Cape is obviously different, and the paint job. Now, one thing I did want to point out is you can see on Dr. Tyme's sort of chest here, armpit, shoulder area, he's got the same straps that Catman has. I don't understand why they couldn't have smoothed that out or used the torso for Batman, even though he has a sculpted symbol on it. Just feels like they could have easily taken those little straps out of there. Here are all the McFarlane DC Multiverse figures that utilize the Nightfall Batman body. We have 13, and I think they're all pretty solid releases. The next one to utilize this body is going to be the Justice League Task Force Batman, and I bet you anything there's a regular and a platinum version. Now they've taken a pretty good look at both the figure and his accessories, let's check out his height. From bottom to the top of his head, standing about 7.1, 7.2 inches tall, which could translate to just over 18 centimeters. And for his articulation, starting with his head, of course, you can rotate side to side. He can look up and down a very good amount. Can tilt his head from one side to the other. Shoulders on a ball joint goes out 90 degrees, up, down, around, all that good stuff. He's got this butterfly ring between his shoulder and chest, increasing the range of motion and covering the gap that would be there. Bicep cut, double jointed elbows. His wrist can rotate and it's hinged as well. In his torso, he has a ball joint, rotate around, forward and back. Another one is waist, rotate around, although barely, forward and back. Legs completely does a splits, McFarlane style hip joints, rotation is pretty good. Legs go forward about that far, back not much. Double jointed knees, and his ankle, forward and back, rotate, tilt, rock, and of course, toe articulation. Here's a look at Dr. Tyme in front of a clock, emulating the clock's hands with his hands. And then here are 4 different Clock Kings standing in front of a clock. Each one of these represents a different Clock King from the comics or media, and each one has a different real identity. So in theory, all 4 of these Clock Kings could interact simultaneously. On the far left, we have a custom Batman the Animated Series DC Universe Classic style Temple Fugate as the Clock King. And then second, with the old school classic Green Arrow villain Clock King, his real name is William Talkman. And then third, we have Dr. Tyme, his real name is Percival Sutter. And then on the far right, the 1966 Clock King, his real name is Morris Tetch. Now let's check them out. Next is some of their action figures, starting off with some of their Clock King figures. Here's Dr. Tyme next to the Clock King. This is Percival Sutter, and then William Talkman. And here he is next to the animated series version of the Clock King. That was a character they made up specifically for the animated series, and his real name is Temple Fugate. And Mattel actually made an officially licensed Temple Fugate Clock King figure in their Justice League Unlimited line. And now, next McFarlane's 1966 Batman Classic TV series Clock King. This guy's real name is Morris Tetch. So all 4 of them are different characters in the comics or TV shows. Not a single one of these guys is the same with Clock King, except for the 2 Temple Fugate figures that I have. Here are all the different Clock King type figures that I have. My Clock King shelf is starting to get a little bit crowded. Took a long time. There is still one more Clock King figure that I need to track down, and that is the Platinum Chase variant of the 66 Clock King. They did a black and white version. So here's the McFarlane Collector's Edition Wave 1. Every single Collector's Edition figure has a Platinum Chase variant. Here are both the regular and Platinum Chase variants of the first appearance Superman, the Abyss, and Alan Scott Green Lantern. And here's the second wave of Collector's Edition figures, both regular and Platinum versions of Firestorm, Hawkman, and Sinestro. Then, the third wave of Collector's Edition figures, we have the Death and Return of Superman, Captain Carrot, Batman as Green Lantern, and Wonder Woman. Here's the fourth wave. This wave consisted of Penguin, Starfire, and Captain Boomerang. And here's the fifth wave of McFarlane Collector's Edition figures, both the regular and Platinum Chase variants of Sergeant Rock, Connor Kent Superboy, and Manga Batman. Here's the sixth wave of Collector's Edition figures, both versions of the Red Hood, Clock King and Dr. Tyme, Ragman, and Agent Liberty. And finally, here's the seventh wave of McFarlane Collector's Edition figures, both the regular and Platinum Chase variants of the Dark Knight Returns Batman, Huntress, and some Green Lantern Corps members. We have Tomar Ray, Evan Sewer, Arcus Chumuk, and the Green Man. And here's Series 8 of the Collector's Edition. So far, I have 4 out of the 12 figures. Regular version of Lightning Lad, both the regular and Platinum versions of Grid, and the Platinum version of Simon Boz. I still need to track down the Platinum Lightning Lad, the regular Simon Boz, both versions of Mr. Terrific, both versions of Christopher Reeve Superman, and both versions of Target exclusive Geoforce. And since this Cyborg Superman is a Platinum Chase variant, I wanted to take a look at all the different McFarlane DC Multiverse Platinum Chase variants out there. Here are all the sort of older Platinum Chase variants. Gold, bronze, unpainted, and then some newer versions. And here's a look at all the more modern McFarlane DC Multiverse Platinum figures. I am almost caught up again. Currently, the only Platinums I'm missing are the Wave 3 Digital Black Tux Joker and Speed Force Flash, the Wave 8 Collector's Edition figures, Lightning Lad, Mr. Terrific, Chris Reeve Superman, Geoforce, and then there's the 66 wave Clock King Black and White version Platinum. And I guess the Batman vs Superman stuff is starting to get out in the US. So I need the Armored Batman and the regular Superman Platinums from that. It's an ongoing journey, but I'm so close to caught up right now. Now let's check him out. Next to some other recently released McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. Here he is, next to some McFarlane Toy Store exclusive figures. We have the DC vs. Vampires Vampire Batman, the Nightmare variant, and then both the regular and Platinum Chase variants of Jonah Hex. Here's Dr. Tyme, next to the Arkham City Detective Mode Batman vs. Solomon Grundy 2-pack. This was an Amazon exclusive. And here he is, next to the Shazam and Freddie Freeman 2-pack. This was also an Amazon exclusive. Then, with the third digital wave, Silver Age Joker and Earth 2 Robin. And now, with the Walmart exclusive Action Comics Superman and Hal Jordan Green Lantern. Here's Dr. Tyme, next to the Arkham Asylum Glow-in-the-Dark Killer Croc. He was also an Amazon exclusive. And here he is, next to the Target exclusive Commander Steel and Sinestro in Parallax Armor. Then, with the latest Jokerized wave, Hush, Harley Quinn, and the Last Night on Earth Batman. And now, with the most recent wave of Page Punchers, both the regular and Platinum Chase variants of the Rebirth Deathstroke and the Damian Wayne Robin. And finally, with the most recent wave of Platinum figures, The Question, Shiny Knight, and Effigy. Now let's check him out, next to some action figures from different various companies, so we can see how he fits in, both scale and style-wise, in case you don't know which lines you can mix him with. Since he's a McFarlane toy, they're typically the 7-inch scale. I'm going to start off my comparisons with some of the larger action figure lines I collect, and work my smaller. But first, let's check him out with some of his McFarlane Toys brothers. In front of you are 5 different action figure lines, all from McFarlane Toys, all 7-inch scale, and now, with some Jakks Pacific Wrestling figures, and some Diamond Select toys. Here's Dr. Tyme, next to some of my son's Halloween candy, and here he is, with some DC Direct and NECA figures. Then, with both some Mattel and Jazzwares wrestling figures, and now, with some Mezco and Mattel DC figures. Next, with some Mafex and Hasbro Marvel Legends. And finally, with some SH Figure Arts and Jazzwares Fortnite figures. So overall, this is a very cool Dr. Tyme figure. It's a very cool variant for Clock King, and I'm really happy to add both those characters to my overall action figure universe. Neither of them have ever been done before in 6 or 7 inch scale. His accessories, very cool. I love the clock hands for weapons, and I love the fact that they're different, at least painted differently, than the regular Clock King versions. His cape's fantastic with the wire in it, the cloth soft goods. I like the Nightfall body. The sculpt is excellent. Paint job is also excellent. Articulation is everything you expect from a modern McFarlane DC Multiverse figure. If I were to rate this guy, he deserves a 7.5 out of 10. Maybe even an 8. It's a very nice figure. I've been searching him for a long time, so maybe my rating is just a little bit inflated because I'm happy to have him. But he did not disappoint in hand. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say about the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you for watching this video, and I will talk to you guys real soon.